Parties are very important, Floyd, but there's always a little apprehension on account of all the knowles. It's really reinforced with the underfrocus. That's better. What? Little champers, give a little Dutch curry and the chescas. Oh, joy. Ça comme le bon Dieu, on parle de l'ordre.
Many would say I've sacrificed my liver for my art. Well, that's simply not true. Because after 30 years of late nights and the odd glass of wine or two, I've developed my very own self-preservation plan. A plan, I hear you cry? Well, after travelling the world, eating and drinking as I go, I've stumbled on various remedies and cures. Some given to me by kindly bartenders, others by wise and experienced chefs from the Orient. So, as a sensible cook, I've taken their advice and created my own survival plan.
The chemical release, the hypothalamus and the various glands that go through the human being causes a great suffering. I've been the brain blocker, the neurothorcus, all this chemico, psycho, brain blocker, all confusedly thorcus, all deep folly.
For the really desperate, I've included some very effective morning after drinks that have particularly soothing qualities and have been used for years the world over. But, and this is very important, hangover cures are all very well, but they can be abused, as we all know. So, my dear gastronauts, if you really want to sort out your whole system and restore the spring in your step, and are prepared to devote 3 days to fresh air, gentle exercise, no alcohol, but light, exciting, delicious and nutritious food, then, my nautinesses, this plan is for you. Watch closely.
Ever since man first discovered alcohol, the dreaded hangover has been with us, like some awful monster, lurking as only monsters can at the bottom of the bottle. The cure has eluded the greatest apothecaries and physicians throughout the world and throughout time. The trouble with alcohol is that it makes us feel so jolly happy. Once you've had the odd glass of bubbly, you feel really tickety-boo. Makes you feel so wonderfully confident, so deliriously interesting, so irresistibly fascinating. You feel like a car merrily trundling down a pretty country lane until you pick up speed and realize that the brakes have failed, and the next morning you hit the brick wall.
Never, ever again. My head.
It is one of life's mysteries. We feel that we're going to get away with it. We're going to cheat the system. We won't wake up feeling as if the head belongs to someone else and the party took place in your stomach. Oh, no. Not to mention the early morning light searing like a laser through the brain.
Whiskey.
I looked around. The walls moved in.
Never, ever again.
Though last night was a different story, and light years away from pain, nausea, and high anxiety. Oh, yes, last night was loads of fun. The thought of a hangover could never have been further from your mind, all dressed up and somewhere to go, meeting old chums and having the odd slurp, and nothing excessive, of course. People, like food, look very impressive at the beginning of a party. The salmon was looking wonderful, the prawns in their finest pink uniforms were dashing, the goose cooked to perfection was glazed, and the pig's head was smiling at the assembled company. The evening is young, and the favourite tipple of young evenings is champagne, sparkling wine, Saumur, Vouvray, maybe even the blush. But the white wine is the first to go. Like some enormous supercharged rocket, the party jettisons its first fuel tank into a sunless sea, and people move on to heavier stuff. And of course those little flights of fancy, those delicate flowers of small talk, suddenly become triffids. The change is subtle, but it's there. It's only a matter of time before the demon is let loose. Ah, that was last night, wasn't it, Keith? And I know that you're suffering from the dreadful physical symptoms, but what about anxiety? Eh? What about remorse? What about those things you said that would have been better left unsaid? Hmm?
No. I mean, I behaved really well, didn't I?
No, actually, Keith, you didn't. I think we should replay a few scenes from last night.
Oh, come on, that's not fair. That really is not fair.
No, it's important, Keith, because only by observing a few scenes from last night can we see the gradual disintegration of a jolly happy chap. Well, you started off the evening very well. You had a couple of pints of bitter. And providing you know when to call it a day, this drink can be positively beneficial. After 3 or even 4 pints, you can still wake up feeling full of vigor. But, you naughty man, you went on to the dreaded port. It's very high in congeners, and these wicked substances are the byproducts of the fermentation process, which cause the most damage in the morning. And because you've been mixing it, it brings out the aggression. Then there is brandy. Oh, if a hangover had a husband, then this would be it. It makes you make long, embarrassing, amorous phone calls late at night and tell the odd fib.
No, just a coffee. Seriously.
Then comes the loss of coordination. The simplest of tasks becomes burdensome. You find that you're distracted by the smallest of things. Because someone told you that vodka was the least offensive and the purest of spirits, you decided at some ungodly hour to try it. But it is too late. The beer, the wine, the port, and the brandy have done their damage. The war is over. The body is in retreat. The lurking monster has risen on its scaly haunches and is starting to advance.
Ever again.
I know I was behaving badly, but the point is, I had to drink all of that stuff, because this is, after all, a program about hangovers. We never cheat in our programs, and I had to go and get a hangover, and boy, have I got one. Something I think the Norwegians call carpenters in the head. But I desperately need a drink. No, perhaps not. Oh, dear. Anyway, on to hangover cure number 1.
Which is salt cod, garlic, olive oil, and it's really rejuvenating. A wonderful old cure from France.
Now, this lovely old salt cod, what I've done, I've soaked it overnight in fresh water, changed the water several times to get rid of most of the saltiness. Then I filleted it, took the skin off, and poached it in milk until it was cooked for about 20 minutes. So, using all the magical resources of television, all I have to do is take some of this lovely salt cod out of the milk, okay, strain it off a little bit, and pop it over here, Rog, into the Magimix, or whichever blender liquidizer you prefer to use. Also, in the milk, I put quite a lot of crushed garlic as well, because this is a very garlicky, olivey, oily Provençal, something that French Provençal peasants, when they've really hung one on, have a great mountain of this. Also, by the way, they eat it at Christmas, on Christmas Eve, because they regard it as a very sort of penitent dish, because they know they're going to misbehave over the whole of Christmas, too much to drink and stuff like that, so they line their stomachs beforehand with a great plate of brandade de morue. Anyway, there we have it. The fish is in there. Put the lid on the top. Switch the thing on. Oops. And we just pour the olive oil in. Now, the olive oil looks green. That's probably how my eyes are looking. But as I say, we always do things for real on Floyd programs. Now, that's very quick, very simple. It's a beautiful puree of fish and olive oil and garlic. That's absolutely superb. Little tastette. You could have some, if you really wanted to punish yourself, some really dry toast would go very well with this. That is really yummy. I wish you could taste this. Olive oil, salt cod, garlic. My goodness me, I can get on cracking now. This really, really works. So we'll go on to our next little hangover sketch. Move this out of the way.
And this is a bull shot. I hope I said that right. A famous standby of New York bartenders and the salvation of many a Broadway critic.
Pay very close attention, Roger, because viewers with trembling hands and shaking heads, upset tummies will want to know about this. Lemon juice goes in first, then the egg yolk goes in, like that.
Mix that around a little. A teaspoonful of horseradish, like that. A dash of vodka. It's up to you how much you want. I mean, I've got a bit of a bad hangover, so I'm going to put a lot in. A dash of the Worcestershire sauce, like that. A little bit of the consomme. The jelly goes rolling in. Like that. I know this doesn't look particularly attractive, but we're not concerned about looks today. We're concerned about getting ourselves to feel a lot better. That goes in like that. The lid goes on. It's a gentle shake, because the noise of ice cubes at this time of the morning, it is 8 o'clock after all, can really do your head in. Just shake it up gently. Strain it through into there. This, my little naughtinesses, for all of those of you who have sinned the previous night, and with hands that were trembling, he picked up his drink and aimed it at his old faithful head. That is the business. We can go on further and further.
Fresh air is vital for getting rid of hangovers, and incidentally, driving the morning after is particularly stupid, for obvious reasons. Yes, that's better. As I was saying, fresh air and gentle exercise are important for circulating the blood and sweating out those nasty toxins from the bloodstream.
My head.
Imagine you're a chopped shallot sweating away in the bottom of a saucepan. Well, no, perhaps not, but exercise, gentle exercise is important, because it is vital over the next few days, especially with the absence of alcohol, to feel gently tired and to sleep the sleep of the just and righteous without a drop of alcohol. So don't be tempted back, and this is terribly important, back to the pub just because you are feeling better. Be strong. Feel that you are on a new short crusade and say, no, it's lemon juice or nothing. Thank you very much. And like a good pilgrim, continue on your way to Mecca or Totnes, which is a bit nearer.
Because, dear gastronauts, trotting around the world as I do, glass in hand, cooking all over the world, staying up late at night with my newest chums, always having to eat something that the chef has just dreamt up for me, well, quite frankly, if from time to time I didn't go on my special little 3-day detoxification plan, I'd go pop. You know, it really does alter things. You appreciate food so much more, you appreciate life so much more. It puts a spring in your step, a sparkle in your eye, and makes you feel really good. I've only just started, and I'm feeling brilliant already. As for these poor old chaps, they don't drink. They just stay like that all day.
Actually, Keith, donkeys don't get hangovers, you know. Sometimes we get a dreadful pain behind the eyes, but that's caused by eating too many young and crunchy thistles. Quite delicious and very, very Moorish.
After a really invigorating cycle ride, you might still find the head is still a little bit woozy, and you might need something just to lift you up in preparation for the rest of the day. And there's a little drink here I'd like to make for you, which is guaranteed to put you on tip-top form. It's the kind of thing back from the old steamship days, you know, travelling across the Atlantic, striped blazers, monocles, Bertie Wooster, Jeeves, and all that lot. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if on many occasions Bertie would lie in his stateroom on the transatlantic liner and ring a little bell, and Jeeves would manifest himself from behind a curtain, shimmering in, and say, "Sir, looking a little frail this morning, is he?" And Bertie would say, "Yes, I feel dreadful, Jeeves, I feel dreadful. Fix me one of your cures." And Jeeves would go off, and this is what he'd do. Well, he wouldn't do it on television, because they didn't have television in those days, but we have, so quick spin round the ingredients here, Roger, please. We have for this wonderful cocktail an egg, some fresh cream, a glass of sherry, some caster sugar, and some nutmeg, grated nutmeg. Now, what you have to do, first of all, is whisk up this little egg. Try not to split it on the chopping board if you can. Anyway, Jeeves would have cleaned it up, you see, so it doesn't really matter. You put the egg into there, first of all. Then you add some cream, whisking all the while. Now, you shouldn't do this in a... Back up to me a minute, please, Roger. You shouldn't do this in a Maggi mix, because it would get so thick it would be like a tin of baby food. And that's not really the object of the exercise. Right, then some sherry into this, whisking all the while, otherwise it'll curdle. Right. A good tablespoonful of caster sugar. Now this, by the way, back to me again, Roger, please. This is for serious hangovers, as a matter of fact, really major ones. But it does work. We tested it earlier on our director, and he's not with us today, but it did make him feel a lot better. Right, nutmeg into there. And since I'm a tiny little coquette, I'll throw those things out of the way and pour this wonderful restorative mixture into the glass like that. Look at that. Reminds you of a wonderfully warming cup of Horlicks you used to take before Nanny put you to bed, doesn't it? Anyway, cheers, because this lifts your heart, your spirits, and your happiness levels to the top. It's damn good. God, boy, I'm going to drink it all. Excellent. Anyway, this is only day one of my little detoxification plan, and it's all based on very simple things. Fresh fruit, water, delicate light soups from the East, pasta from Italy, wonderful, gentle things that are good for you, good for your tummy. But you must stay on a bit of a diet, so for my lunch and for my breakfast, I'm going to have something I really fancy. Some melon. And that's all you're allowed today, is a little bit of melon. Just take the pips out of that. Put them onto there. So for lunch and for breakfast, a lovely bit of fresh melon. No sugar, you note. No sugar at all. It's a good melon. And to drink, and here's a change for those of you used to our other style of programs. This is a very refreshing, totally non-alcoholic lemon juice and water. And I would advise you, if you can, to drink a couple of pints at least of this throughout the day. Maybe 3 or 4 pints even. It's very, very refreshing. I think I'll go back to my hangover cure. And now, so that you know that I'm really talking sense about all this, here is a doctor sketch.
Let's see if we can find where your liver is hiding this morning. My goodness. Have you ever seen a film, Keith, of Krakatoa in full eruption?
No, but you're telling me something here.
I'm telling you something, yes, yes. I think we know what you're suffering from, Keith. You're suffering from the effects of a mega hangover.
What exactly is a hangover?
Basically, you pickle your internal organs for a few hours, so damages the brain just a little bit. I don't want to frighten you, just a little bit. So you feel a little bit shaky. The liver, you know, it damages the pancreas. In essence, really, what we're talking about is like a huge migraine attack with a bit of gastroenteritis thrown in, a bit of hepatitis, a bit of pancreatitis, you name it, a bit of everything-itis in the body. That's what a hangover is. Now, I've read the script of what you're doing, and I think it's wonderful. I've never seen anything like this before. I have a special interest in this, and I'm fascinated that somebody can make a program that explains to people what to do. And all the way down the line, I think you've got it right. You're correcting the dehydration, you're correcting the hypoglycemia that's so unpleasant, giving the liver a rest, which is so important. And you're doing you're doing it in such a joyful way that people will actually enjoy the experience. I think that's a wonderful achievement.
I'm feeling better already, Frank. Where's the lemon juice?
On to dinner. A dish discovered in the Antipodes by a very hungover Keith Floyd.
In the Sydney fish market, there is a little Japanese food stand. And I went along there, and this bloke said, if you're feeling this grim, in his fairly broken English and my fairly halting words anyway, because my head was throbbing like crazy, he said, if you want to work, you really need a good bowl of Japanese soup. I think he called it yosabi, I think that's what it's called. Anyway, he made me this, and believe it or not, and only an hour later, I was flying. Look at the Sydney fish market, isn't it brilliant? All that and stuff. And I was flying. I was singing like a bird. It was brilliant. So I can recommend this kind of thing too. Anyway, that's too much whittering. The essential thing is to actually cook it. And the first thing you need, and Roger, you could spin round here, is some stuff that the Japanese called dashi. Now, this is a fish stock. And what you do, you go to your Asian supermarket, buy a packet of dried fish flakes and a packet of dried seaweed. Cover it with water, bring it to the boil, till it looks like that, and then you take the seaweed out. That's now just a nicely flavoured Japanese fish stock called dashi. Right, now Roger, back to the table of ingredients, and we'll have a little spin round of what we've got using my oriental sticks here. First thing, over here, if you can, is lovely pieces of monkfish. Any firm-fleshed fish would do. You could use lobster, you could use prawns if you were rich and famous. Across to your camera left, please, Roger, and you have the pre-cooked, very fine noodles. That's just boiling water poured over some noodles. Back a little bit to some very thin baton of fresh carrot. Across to your right a bit, some spring onions, some oyster mushrooms over here, some fresh, perky little leaves of spinach from my garden here. Over here is a little bit of ginger we're going to grate into it. And finally, up to me, Roger, we'll add a dash of soy sauce. Okay? Now, my first job is, that was quite a long take. I think I have a slurp. And, you know, even though we've given up wine, you can still keep going on with the old lemon juice. It's jolly good, you know. And actually, this is verging towards the end of our first day, and don't I look better already? I mean, the eyes, you can begin to see them even. I know they haven't gone milky white yet, but at least they're open. Anyway, delicious. First little job for me to do now, because the fish is the longest cooking thing of the whole sequence. Roger, pop round over here again, and we'll just slide some of these lovely bits of monkfish into the stock. Okay, they're all cut into little strips, make them easy to eat afterwards. So that goes into there. Now, for the second, old bean, you might as well just stay there, because my next thing that has to go in are my little pieces of carrot. Hold on, I might as well do this in a rather technical way. Look, I'll use the old chopsticks. Nice thin batons of carrot into there. 3 or 4 of those. Okay, and remember, back up to me in a second, please, Roger. Excellent, excellent. This is a very lightly cooked dish because it's a gentle thing. You don't overcook the carrots, you don't overcook the mushrooms, which are now going into it. They must all be very slightly crunchy. Back on the pot again, old bean. In with our mushrooms. There they go, like that. Then you can stay with that for a second if you like, and I'll bring the rest over. I know you're a bit tired there. Then some excellent spinach leaves. We're now getting some good colours in here. We're getting the orange of the carrots, the mushrooms, the white of the fish. Look how beautifully white that fish is coming out now. Superb little leaves of spinach. Stay with that, old bean. I'll be right back with you in seconds. The next most important thing is a little bit of grated ginger, fresh root ginger. Gives a little piquantity to the whole thing. Okay. Now swing all your way around, Roger, because I want to go back to the chopping board, please. That's into there like that. Gosh, this is going terribly well. I'm feeling better. I mean, even just talking to you and drinking this lemon juice makes me feel wonderful. Right. Then I need some jolly nice spring onions. I'll just chop roughly like that. I'm just going to use the green bits. Okay, so you might as well stay where you are, Roger. Wander around here if you possibly can. So I'll just pop those in. That's the next thing that goes into there. Okay, now we'll turn the heat right up and just bring it slightly to the simmer. Have a little look around in there. What have we got? The fish, the mushrooms, the spinach, the carrots, and the spring onions. Right, and the final thing that goes into that, absolutely wonderful little thin cellophane noodles. To give it a bit, I mean, there's no calories in these noodles at all, but they do make the dish a little bit more substantial. So there we have that. Right, now the tricky bit. Line up your shot, Roger, my darling, because we've got to pop it into the serving bowl. Into there. The old Lensley boy. Isn't that a wonderful bowl of soup? Hold on, you're a bit, there we are, dear. You can see a bit better. Okay, so that's that. Then to serve myself a nourishing portion of this, using my trusty Oriental-style ladle, with a bit of that, have a few more of these noodles if I can get them out. I'm terribly fond of noodles. That on the top. There. Now that is not only a soup fit for the frail and tired, globe-trotting gastronaut television presenter, it's fit for an emperor, for a sales rep, for a truck driver, for a cricketer, for a guitarist, for a drummer, for Ringo Starr, or anybody. It's absolutely fabulous. Oh. I wish there was a restaurant around here that served this stuff.
Just a little recap. It's all cooked in minutes in dashi, in a dash, actually. That's monkfish, oyster, mushrooms, noodles, spinach, spring onions, carrots, ginger, and a sprinkling of soy sauce. I'm no cook, but I'm told it's really nice. And you feel strangely cleansed. It's quite wonderful. Morning, day 2, between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, actually. And we find a greatly refreshed King Floyd, full of vim and vigour. Now, I must warn you about the dangers of feeling too good too early. You might just say to yourself, I'm cured. Well, just shrug off those silly notions and get on with your half a melon and a pint of lemon juice and water.
Good morning. Good morning. It's day 2 of the self-preservation plan, and I am feeling spiffing. I'm toppingly good. Anyway, as usual, it's lemon juice and melon for breakfast. Don't change from that. Very, very important. But you know, there have been hangovers since the world began. Since Adam left Eve, they've been drinking and feeling poorly the next day. And they've all had strange cures for it. The Greeks, for example, used to wear a garland of parsley. They thought that did them a lot of good. The Puerto Ricans, for some extraordinary reason, used to rub lemons under their armpits. They thought that would improve things. The Vikings, and my goodness me, when they were raping and pillaging and hanging a few on, they used to have the most monumental hangovers. And what they had, actually one of my personal favourites down here, Rog, they used to have soused herrings with a bit of sour cream. In fact, it's a jolly good idea to have a little snack of that. It won't affect my diet. Sour cream hasn't got too many calories in. That's yummy. In the Middle Ages, when they'd hung one on with all their mead and stuff like that, they used to boil up cloves in hot water and imbibe the aromatic liquor. And actually, if that doesn't cure a hangover, I don't know what. It certainly would put you off drinking, I think, if you knew you had to have one of these the following day. And then the Romans, of course, when they'd hung one on in a major way, they used to have a nice little snack of eels and liquamen. Luckily, we couldn't get any eels, but liquamen is that funny fish sauce made from squid and possibly old anchovies. It's sort of a really nasty thing that enhances the flavour of eels. Right. Now, because I've been obeying my own self-preservation plan, I don't feel any pain at all. But if you've been a little bit naughty, especially last night, and you've still got a bit of a hangover, here's a superb one for you. Absolutely superb. Talking of hangovers, by the way, while I mix this wonderful drink for you, the Portuguese have an interesting expression for it. They say their tide has gone out. The French, for example, say they have a gueule de bois, which means they've got a wooden snout or a wooden throat. And, of course, we say things like, I've got a throat like the bottom of a parrot cage. However, now, with this lovely, lovely drink, which I call a silly sod, what we have to do, we squeeze some lime juice first of all. A bit of lime. Pop it into this jigger here. You can see this, Roger, okay? A bit of a close-up if you can manage it. Then we have a dash of gin. There's a nice dash of gin. And you do understand, I must emphasise, back up to me please, Roger, I don't need this hangover cure because I've been behaving perfectly, okay? Then back onto the jigger again, please. A dash of bourbon. Hey, yummy, yummy, yummy. Then a dash or 2 of Angostura bitters. Then they go like that. Okay, a jolly good helping of ice. Lovage would be very nice in it. I've got some mint, so we'll put some mint into it. And then the whole thing is topped up with ginger ale. 1, 2 of those. Of course, depending, back up to me please, Rod, depending on the intensity of your hangover will, of course, reflect the quantities and the measurements you pop into the glass. Now, I'm only drinking this, you know, really for your benefit, because I feel since I'm telling you to do all these things, I ought to take part in it myself. As I've repeated, and as you can see by the clearness of my eyes and the happy, smiling complexion on my face, I am not in need of it. Oh, it's absolutely superb. And the mint just rounds it off, you know. Absolutely brilliant for Sunday brunch. Now, Roger, have a look at this, because this is most interesting. In Haiti, where they're really sick and tired of waking up feeling sick and tired, they've devised the most amazing voodoo-related hangover cure. They pull the cork out, get themselves absolutely legless, and then, and it's very important that you do this the night before, they stick pins into the cork to punish the bottle. Good, isn't it?
One of Floyd's main passions in life, apart from drinking, spending a fortune on clothes and fast cars and all the rest, is fishing. It is a wonderfully sensible pastime, healthy, relaxing, putting one in touch with nature, and hopefully lunch. I think it should be a fresh muddy worm or maybe a stickleback and some seaweed. Jolly pleased it's not duck, though.
This isn't one of those ordinary little fishing sequences we just put in to let some fresh air into the programme to relieve the monotony. No, it's very seriously a part of my 3-day detoxification plan. Instead of staying in bars and theatres and things all night, nightclubs and all that kind of stuff, or even in the daytime for that matter, it's a very good idea to get out and have some fresh air, something relaxing, something fun, but something which makes you feel good and does you good. Although, unfortunately, today, on this wonderful June day here on the most beautiful estuary of the River Dart, there is no sun and it's tipping down with rain. I mean, Germans wouldn't do this, Spanish wouldn't do it, the Japanese wouldn't do it. Only Brits do things like this. Anyway, it's part of life and it's very good for you. Anyway, I've been unlucky, I haven't caught a damn thing. But I'm a prudent and thoughtful young cook, or middle-aged cook, actually. So I did bring a few things with me in the unlikely but has turned out to be the likely event of not catching a damn thing. I've also brought a splendid box of knives, which I have here in my, executive-style knife case. So I need one of those to get on, and then we have a little spin round these odd ingredients we've got here today, Roger. I thought it'd be good to have some oil-rich fish, things like mackerel and salmon. Eat them raw. Back to me, please, Roger, for a second. Eat them raw with a wasabi, which is a kind of Japanese mustard, and a little bit of soy sauce and sherry mixed together, and some grated, back down over here, grated white radish, and some grated carrot. Absolutely splendid stuff, good for the heart, good for the health, and terribly good for me.
This is very simple, really. You can do this at home. He just slices the fresh mackerel and salmon into bite-sized bits, and then he mixes the hot wasabi. And I must correct Keith, it's Japanese horseradish, not mustard. It's actually quite expensive. I just thought I'd point that out.
Anyway, that can go on there. That will pop that in there to rinse off in the rain. And then, as a little dip to go with the whole thing, and this is the nearest way that any alcohol has touched my lips on this, must be our second day now. I'm losing track of time, but this is the first little drop I would have had because, of course, soy sauce and sherry does have a slight alcoholic touch to it. It is really, honestly, only for the flavour of the thing. And then to complete my lunch, all I need, a few sprigs of this wonderful grated white radish, a few sprigs of grated fresh carrot. This, by the way, is the radish we're talking about. This is the one you need to get. Most supermarkets have them these days, and Asian shops and things do as well. Okay? And then I have a perfect summer's day picnic, full of health, full of nutrition, full of vitamins, full of fun. Actually, and it's a pretty looking plate of food, isn't it? Despite this dull, grey day. A little bit of mackerel, a little bit of the wasabi. I'll probably cough and sneeze because it's so hot. And then perhaps, dip a little of our radish into the soy and sherry mixture. If this boat didn't have an engine, I could row it home. That's how good this stuff is for you.
You're quite right. It is terribly good for you. And so is this. It's a Sydney sunrise, a fabulous pick-me-up, which he makes for his old chum and renowned wine expert, Oz Clark.
Too nice to do any good, Keith.
Listen, Obin, you're a professional drinker, you write about it, you must end up with some mother and fathers of hangovers sometimes. What do you do to get out of it?
Oh, well, I tell you, there are one or two golden rules. I mean, the point is, you often have to do about 100 wines a day, and you taste stuff, you spit all over the place to try and stop the stuff going down and staying vaguely upright. But there are two golden rules. One, don't go for some cold beers with your mates when you finish the tasting, and of course you always do. And when you have gone for some cold beers with your mates, don't ask them back to your place. Because you always do. And when you do ask them back to your place, get rid of them by midnight. But you don't. So it's called willpower, actually. I mean, the thing is, willpower is crucially important, and this is crucially important. This is called water. You may not have come across it before. It's called water. What you should really do when you get home, and this is where the willpower shows, you drink it. I mean, drink all that, straight down. And then, of course, the next thing you do is cancel all your engagements for the next morning, because the only thing to do is to sleep. Actually, water and sleeping it off is what you need. If you have got some appointments, what I always do, actually, is I put some moisturiser on. I mean, actually, literally get that stuff up there and dab that around there. Because actually, if you don't look as though you've got a hangover, you may actually not think you have got one. But I've got another little number for you here. Those are called guarana tabs. They're from the Amazon in Brazil, Take 2 of those. They're a legal high.
Where do I put them?
No, I've got 2 more if you've got any spare. Put them straight down your nose, the throat. Down the throat. Down the throat. Finish them off with that. And the lovely thing about those is that in about 10 or 15 minutes, you're going to feel your skin sort of beginning to wake up. Your mind is going to start getting straight. You're actually going to start thinking straight. You're going to look at me rather than through me and past me as you are at a moment. And you're going to actually suddenly feel terribly, terribly good, and you're going to start going for your life.
I'm only doing the commentary for this program, you understand, but I had the distinct impression, I could be wrong, that Oz and Keith had something a little stronger. Anyway, on to dinner.
I know it's all very well. We need a little bit of bulk in our diet, so I thought I'd cook something really simple but jolly good for you, which is some fresh pasta in a very, very simple way. So have a quick spin around the ingredients, Rod. We have got some fresh tagliatelle, olive oil. Now, olive oil is very good. Back up to me a second, please. Olive oil is, like fish oil, terribly good for you. Excellent stuff to have when you're having this detoxification plan. Then also down here, a little bit of grated Parmesan cheese, some fresh garlic, known, back to me please, Roger, known since Roman times as a perfect thing for the blood. Perfect for your health, keeps away colds, lots of iron and vitamins in garlic. Terribly good for you. Back over here, fresh basil, which will give it a lovely flavour to the whole thing. And finally, over to your right a tiny bit, I've got some tomatoes I've had marinating in olive oil, mint, and fresh thyme. Okay, so that's all absolutely splendid while that happens. I just pop this. Don't need to look at that because everybody knows that you put pasta into lightly salted boiling water with a little dash of olive oil in it as well to stop it from sticking together. Now, because that's fresh pasta, it will only take about 3 minutes to cook. So it'll take me about 2.5 minutes, I would say, to crush some garlic to make the dressing for this nice pasta dish. Now, you can have this quite coarse, the garlic. There is a move I've noticed that people have been talking about odourless garlic. They seem to be breeding the goodness out of things these days. Don't any of you go rushing around, and I do mean it seriously, little plastic pots of odourless garlic. I mean, this you can eat, you know, like that, and it's really very good for you. That's why I'm looking so good, because I practice what I preach. Anyway. There, that's enough garlic. Incidentally, the Romans esteemed it as an aphrodisiac as well, but it's not that kind of a program, okay? Right, that's the garlic in. The next thing we need is some beautiful basil, quite coarsely chopped. Very sweet, aromatic herb, this is, which I really do like. Oh, Laura, could you possibly just take the pasta off the thing for me and strain it, please? Thank you very much, dear. That's my chum, Laura. She's helping. And run it under hot water, darling, would you?
Obviously.
Excuse me, Roger. You can't get the staff. You really can't. Anyway, right, that's our basil. And that now goes into this mixing bowl over here as well. Absolutely perfect. Then loads and loads and loads of pepper. Like so. Masses of olive oil. Is that almost ready, my darling?
It's coming.
Good. Lots of olive oil into there. Thank you very much indeed. Pasta go. You see, we've in there, big fat close-up, Roger. We've got the garlic, the pepper, and the basil, and the olive oil, okay? And of course, because this is a simple dish, we're not skimping. We're not using cheap olive oil. We're using the best virgin olive oil. Wanted to get the virgin joke in somewhere along the line. And we toss it all around like that. The pasta will absorb this wonderful oil and will be influenced by the flavors of the garlic and the basil. Right, so that pops into there like that. Then we transfer it to our serving dish and garnish it with, pop that in. This is a particular useful thing for playing with pasta, by the way, a little plastic device. Right, that's in there. Then I'm going to chop some of these tomatoes, close up on those, Roger, just very quickly, please. That's the tomatoes I've marinated in olive oil, thyme and mint. We'll chop a few of those up, and they're completely raw. They've just been skinned and de-pipped. We're maintaining a bit of a Japanesey theme throughout this, certain amount of raw stuff and a certain amount of cooked stuff. There we are. A little more pepper over the top. And I think before I invite Laura to come and taste that and pronounce judgment on it, and as we always say on our programs, if she doesn't say it's terribly nice, we can always edit her out of it, can't we? Before I ask her to come and taste that, I'm going to give myself a well-deserved slurp because we must not lose sight of the vital necessity of drinking pints and pints and pints of water and lime juice or water and lemon juice without sugar throughout this whole 3-day detoxification plan. And I am, as you can see, the cheerful, smiling, living proof of the success of it up to now. That is to say, dinner time, day 2. Laura, could you have a little taste of this?
Love to.
It looks quite nice, and it'll build us up a little bit of bulk, quite a lot of bit of oil. That's yummy, isn't it?
Delicious.
I think we should have put a little bit more salt on. Right, that'll be all, darling. Thank you. I'll see you later. Thanks a lot. Right, I'll carry on with my dinner. I really needed that, you know. I am ravenous, absolutely ravenous. And that's another thing, another importance of this plan is it does make you appreciate food. You do begin to enjoy yourself again. Instead of being stuffed out and gluttonously overfed, by taking this little regime, as the French call it, you look forward to meal times with anticipation and excitement, and I do. Here's to you and here's to us. Back on the pot, Rod.
Actually, that was extremely good and very simple. I could follow that. Oh, now this is half man, half heron, expertly stalking the water in search of breakfast. The duck sensibly removes himself, not wanting a hook in the bill. It's terribly painful. Anyway, our intrepid angler finally hooks breakfast. If that trout came out of this river, then I'm a peacock. Actually, I wouldn't mind being a peacock, come to think of it. There's no such thing, though, as peacock à l'orange.
Anyway, it's a very simple dish I can do, just a freshly caught trout soaked in butter with a little lemon juice and a little parsley. And using our trusty camping gas stove, that we sometimes call Clive, melt the butter, pop the trout in, and you couldn't have a fresher trout than that. Now what we'll do, purists of you will say, well, when you're cooking a trout, back up to me please, Roger, when you're cooking a trout in butter, you don't want burnt butter, but the essence of a trout meunière, which is fried in butter, is to cook it twice. Once in the butter, which is slightly brown to give the fish the flavour, then you strain that away and melt fresh butter, not burnt, and pour it over the fish. So, we'll carry on doing that for a second or two. That lovely sizzling sound. Oh, cow. I think now we've got the trout seared, we can add a little lemon juice to it. There, drop more lemon juice. Now, the thing about this little Floyd detoxification plan is, it's not for doing every day. It's not for those naughty people who drink far, far too much. This is for people like airline pilots who get stranded in Singapore for 2 days and have a binge of exotic foods and too much drink. It's for sales reps who are hurtling around the countryside having to eat in hotels night after night. It's for those of you who at Christmas or at birthday times take the celebration a couple of days too far. It's a little thing to do every now and again, which will restore some of the vitality and some of the good blood back into your body. And the best way, what could be better than a really spanking fresh trout? Terribly simple thing, quite delicious, full of lovely oils, very good for your heart, good for your body, good for your tummy. Smashing stuff. Anyway, the most extraordinary thing has just happened. The sun has just come out for the first time in about 91 days. Absolutely extraordinary. Anyway, I told you earlier that we would get rid of the blackened fat, blackened butter, and we'll finish off our fish with some fresh butter, just to melt over it, and some fresh parsley, and also, stay there a sec, Rod, and just a couple of slightly singed almonds to give it a really crunchy flavour. Those of you who are real purists might not like to cook your trout in butter, because you're saying, well, if we're doing this detoxification plan, why are we pouring butter all over the thing? So surely that's bad for us. Well, yes, but a little bit is okay. It's excessive eating of butter and oils of the wrong sort that do you harm. A little taste now and again, no problem. But if you want to be a real purist, do it the way the French might do it. When they've caught a fresh trout, they pop it into boiling water and poach it. It's still delicious and still full of oil. So that gets me out of you worrying about using butter. Okay, great. I think it's time to eat. cloth, my trusty cloth. Well, I don't know about you lot. Sitting at home, no doubt you are, with your tummies rumbling, overeaten, feeling terrible. I'm feeling absolutely fantastic because the Floyd detoxification plan really works, and I deserve a fat, plumptious trout for breakfast. Mmm. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Fish is really good for your tummy.
Actually, our mummy won't allow us butter. We just had the odd minnow slightly rolled in mud, and it's really quite delicious. Sorry to hurry things along, but lunch on the third day is mussels, cooked in a little white wine, garlic, olive oil, and then gently steamed until they open. Sprinkled with parsley, and then you must sit on a harbour wall and kick your legs in glee, for they are absolutely delicious. And of course you must spare the odd mussel or two for the ducks, who have been extraordinary and extremely good. Your hangover is now only a distant memory, but the effects of it are succinctly summed up by Professor Stanley Unwin.
I won't discover me the guilty conscience, but it's better. I feel better. But there's a little deep unease in the tumload. I've got a guilt, indulging the self-hate, the way I show off to all these Aristophanes and the knowledge of these people odors. Besides, what's the effect on the human bill? The hepatite, insofar as the liver suffering. What, and the renal in the kidney? Oh, the chemical release, the hypothalamus and the various glands that go through the human bill causes a great suffering. The brain blocker, the neurothorcus, all this chemico, psycho, brain blocker, all confusedly thorcus, all deep folly.
Back at Floyd Towers, the final supper, which is well worth the wait. A wonderful dish that Keith discovered in Thailand.
3 days of abstinence and a superb Floyd survival plan diet, and I'm feeling absolutely wonderful. And this is my last supper before I go back to my normal, difficult and awkward ways. So I'm going to cook myself a really splendid Thai shrimp and noodle soup. Roger, if you'd come in, my dear chap, please. He's feeling a bit rough because he hasn't been on the plan, you see. He's been working too hard. And we'll have a quick spin round the ingredients. Starting from here, old bean, some rice noodles, okay. Then back to some coconut milk, nice thick coconut milk. You can get that in a tin very easily from the Asian supermarkets. Over here we have the fish stock, right. Then down here a bit, Roger, some excellent prawns, large uncooked prawns. Across to here to fresh coriander, fresh mint, spring onions, the liquamen, which is the fish sauce, okay. Down here to a lovely crispy, crunchy, hearty lettuce, some fresh chilies, a little bit of Thai curry paste, which again you can get from your Asian supermarket, some ginger, ready to grate in later on, some chopped garlic, and some chopped onions, okay. That's all very splendid. Right, now the first thing I've got to do now is chop a couple of chilies. Now I'm going to leave the seeds in these because I want this to be very, very hot. But if you don't want it too hot, take the little seeds out. There we go, chilies, right. Now, Roger, if you can vaguely swing yourself round to the pot, which is over here, we'll start the cooking process. This whole thing doesn't really take very long. The vegetables are undercooked, the fish is just lightly cooked, and it's full of spicy goodness, especially for people who've been so good, like I have, for the last 3 days. And we have really done it. No cigarettes, no booze. The only slurp I've been having the whole time is my lemon juice and water. Right, Rog, onto the pot, please. That's heated up with some oil. It might sizzle and crackle a bit, but don't worry. The onions go in. The chilies go in. Okay, that's good. The garlic goes in. In a minute, Rog, I'll get you to do a good close-up on how far we've gone here. Then a bit of grated ginger goes straight in. For those of you, up to me a sec, please, Rod. For those of you who've got woks, a wok would be an ideal receptacle to cook this particular dish in. I'm using one of my very expensive French copper pans just to show off. So I very much like doing it, showing off. Then that goes in. Then a bit of only a teaspoonful of the Thai curry paste, which, I'll repeat, you can buy from your Asian supermarket. Whack up the gas a little bit now to get a bit more heat. Bum, 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 bum. Then, all the prawns, I've taken a knife to them and run the knife down the back so that when they cook, they'll sort of butterfly open and look more attractive. It's just worth that little extra detail, especially if you're trying to impress friends. Right, they go in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For those of you who don't have access to, back me a sec please, Rod. Those of you who don't have access to extravagant prawns, you could use monkfish for this, you could use little pieces of pork, you could use little pieces of chicken. It doesn't really matter. I'm very fond of shrimps, so I'm using shrimps. Right, there's that. Little stir-fry twiddly-widdly-diddly there. Now, those are all just lightly seasoned and lightly sealed with the garlic, the curry paste, the ginger and the onion. Next phase then is to put in our fish stock. Little fish stock like that. Allow that to come to the boil as fast as we can. Then a dollop of coconut milk. A lot of Thai cooking involves coconut milk, and it really does give a creamy, tummy-pleasing texture to a dish. Right, we've got our basic soup there. As you can see, the whole thing, the cooking in live time, is only taking seconds. Into that now, we put some noodles, which I've already cooked and strained under cold water so they don't stick together. They just go in like that. Noodles. Lovely, lovely noodles. This is a real treat for me, you know. I've been working so hard, all my fresh air, my exercise, going to bed early, sleeping properly, enjoying my food that I have been eating because I haven't been bloated and overindulging myself, sleeping well, sleeping a deep, untroubled sleep instead of those jarring nightmares you often have when you've had too much to drink or been too stressed and too anxious about things. Right, well, you might as well go back over there now for a sec if you like. So I take the lettuce. This is a very important part of the whole thing. Look at that lovely crunch. It's got to be a really crunchy lettuce. You just coarsely chop it. Like that. And it goes into the pot. Like so. Then, stay where you are, a handful of mint leaves. Fresh garden mint. And again, another very important feature of Thai cooking. A big bunch of fresh coriander. All this has got to happen before the lettuce really, really cooks. And then finally, the last little thing to go in almost are some crunchy spring onions, just roughly cut up like that. Turn around. And the last little pièce de la résistance is a little drop of our special fish sauce. So, and then now look at that. Isn't that lovely? Lovely pink shrimps, the green lettuce, the white noodles, the creamy sauce. I think if you've been on the Floyd survival plan for 3 days, you really deserve a treat like this. I made a bit of mess on my table here, but no consequence, no consequence. I'm feeling so happy I shall even do the washing up myself after I finish the sequence. Pot up there for me. Big heavy dish. Oh, it's heavy, but you see, no problem in lifting that up at all because I'm so fit and healthy. Roger, I've tripped you up with that. I'm terribly sorry I got the lickman in the way. But I'm so happy and so pleased, so relaxed. Right, a bowl of this for me, I think, to cheer me up. Noodles, spring onions, mint, ginger, coriander, garlic, little curry paste, coconut milk, all the wonderful juju juices of the Orient are here. It's absolutely fabulous. It's a spicy Southeast Asian bouillabaisse, and it's wonderful. I've earned it. If you've been on the plan, have a feast on this, and you'll feel wonderful.
It really was very good. And it is prawns, curry paste, mint, ginger, spring onion tops, coriander. I probably missed out a couple of things, but it cooks in a minute, and afterwards you feel like doing cotton.
Ah, Roger, dear boy, come in, come in, come in. I'm feeling terrific, absolutely fabulous. Do you know that? I've been 3 days on my Floyd self-preservation plan, eating the lemon juice and melon, sensible, balanced fish diet, early to bed, early to rise, makes all people healthy and wise, all of that stuff. But tonight, you know, tonight, I think I feel like popping out with a few chums just for one or two little ones, maybe a pint of beer, a couple of glasses of wine, maybe. Nothing serious, you understand. But just in case, I've been very sensible. I've had a really good plate of tripe and onions to line my stomach, which, by the way, is feeling really happy and contented because I've treated it so well over the last couple of days. Anyway, so that you can recap and really understand what we've been talking about over the last 3 days, here's Professor Stanley Unwin to give you some very coherent words of advice.
Yes, I call this my PPPF, which is Prepare for the Party Plan Thunderbolt. Very important load. And it's a training session, you see. Not for Olympics and push your buffalo down and run a mile and a half in 11 seconds. Nothing like that. You must have a good base. This is important load. I compare this to the underfelt for a good city room carpet, where people have laid their winkle pickers, treading buffalo down and called knees up Mother Brody and all that. Your tummy is a comparison with this. So take plenty of good food and stuffage as a basic for where all the food and tready on top of it. See what I mean? Oh yes. Milk, there's the liquefy here, lots of liquid, you see, and there's the milk is the foodage and the liquid. That's why I mentioned milk's best load. Now then, olive oil. Now you won't like this, but the Italians and the Spanish do a little half glass till the elbow and quickly pour down the epiglot. It may sound and pukey, but you'll get over that, no problem at all. And then the fibre. This is an important load. Fibre and bulk in the case of potato mashy. All stuffle down the green, and lots of it. This will swell and take the alcoholic contemplation and spread it out throughout the human field. Oh, very important load. And also lots and lots of water. All tilty down the throat. 'Cause you may find this difficult on account of your whole system built up in a reservoir. And the reason for this, it goes through the irrigates, right through all the ends of the researches that any beer could never reach in its own mold. And you'll do that, and this will be wonderful. And you'll rise like lark in the deep joy of the early morning, and next time will be your most wonderful party. And I wish you joy.
This should be a bit of fun, I think. I'm really feeling like it.
Good evening, Barney.
Hi, Barney. How you doing?
Fine. Usual 19 pubs tonight, is it, sir?
No, we're not. We're just going to have one in the pub and then meet some friends for a very light dinner. Because, as you know, I've been on my plan. I'm feeling good, and I'm not going to change. I've mended my ways totally, so you'll be home by 11 at latest.
Very good, sir. Oh, that old gag.
I got whiskey in my heart, I got gin in my veins. I got laughter in my life, I got everything I need.
Every minute I stay in this room, every minute I stay in this room, I get weaker.